I'm going to walk you through today how I plan out my days as a service provider, making sure that I am working as least amount of hours as possible while also really maximizing what I am doing and just being really freaking productive throughout this day, and how I just go about organizing my days, how I go about organizing my schedule, and what this actually looks like behind the scenes. So I'm going to walk you through my exact process of how I plan out my days, running my business without a team, coaching every other day on calls, and putting out a lot of content. As you can see from even just this YouTube channel, I put out a lot of content. So I do a lot in a really short amount of time in my business. I work a insanely amount of short hours compared to what the actual output is in my business and what actually goes out. And I credit that a lot to how I actually just organize everything in my life and business, because I make things really simple. I'm really organized. I have a really clear process for how I actually plan out my days. And this just really starts with what my schedule looks like and how I'm actually inputting everything I need to do into my schedule. So I'm going to walk you through my process for just planning my days for the most productive days possible as a service provider, and just share with you my strategy essentially for how you can actually just get more done in less time on a really tangible planning perspective. So the first thing I do whenever I'm going to plan out my days and whenever I'm sitting down to plan out the next day is I drop in the non-negotiables into my calendar. So this is the very first thing I do. For me, this is client calls, client messages, and showing up on stories. These are the things that I have to do in the moment on the day. I can't batch these ahead of time. I can't, batch all my client calls for the month on just one day, for example. I could, but that's not how I structure my packages, so that's not possible for me. So I'll always drop in the non-negotiables. So any client calls or any other meetings I have scheduled, I'll drop in when I'm actually going to be checking client messages. So I always do this a couple of times a day at least. And then I'll drop in as well when I'm actually going to be showing up on stories to make sure I'm consistently doing this. So these three things then will make sure they're happening every day without fail. So they are added to my schedule first. So when we've got this empty schedule, we drop in the non-negotiables to start with before anything else. The second thing I then do is I look at any tasks that I have on the agenda for the week that I'm really wanting to get done on that specific day. I'm super clear on just what needs to be done in my business. So I always have that very clear list of my output essentially each week. So looking at content, for example, I know every single week I do 7 YouTube videos, I do 5 Instagram posts, and I'll send 2 emails to my email list. So I have a very clear list of what needs to be done each week. So out of those tasks, then I have my days of what I'll work on what. So Monday I can say, okay, great, I'm going to work on my Instagram content. So I'll drag and drop that task then into the space around whenever I have calls. When I'm posting on stories, those non-negotiables, I'll drop in any tasks that I'm wanting to specifically work on for that day out of that output list essentially, which if you haven't got any list like that, 100% recommend doing that. Just a list of what actually needs to be done in your business on a week-to-week basis. So it's super clear and you can just drag and drop tasks essentially. The third thing I will then do is I will note down on that schedule any smaller pieces that also need to be done in the day. So anything under 10 minutes I just don't want to forget about, and I'll really make time for completing these things as well, and just fitting in any other smaller things that could be, checking Instagram DMs, that could be my emails, that could be sending out a scheduling link to someone, that could be sending out a payment link, whatever it is, I'll send out those things as well. And then the fourth thing is I will go into my projects, so the bigger things I'm working on. This is, for example, redesigning my website. This is, creating a new offer, any just bigger projects that I'm working on. So any additional capacity that I then have remaining in the schedule. So looking at what I've already got in place. If I have, for example, an extra 3-hour block where I don't have anything scheduled in, I know that I have extra capacity to actually be working on a project over there. So I will then pick one of my projects to work on, whichever one is most priority there. And I'll just add that into my schedule, some time to work on that as well. So these are all planned out ahead of time, so I can really just, again, drag and drop these into the schedule. I know what projects are kind of on my mind for the next 6 months of things I'm wanting to do. So I can then drag and drop that whenever I have the additional time. But the important thing is I'm really stacking these in the correct order, where it means that, I'm not prioritizing a project over a non-negotiable. I'm not prioritizing a project over a task that actually needs to be done this week because I have content that needs to go out, for example. They're really stacked in a really intentional order there. And then the fifth thing finally is I will move this list that I've just made into an actual schedule. So I write out an actual schedule there, accounting for everything that needs to get done during the workday, and also I'll account for the breaks that I'm taking as well. So it will look something like this, where I will write out specifically, all the breaks that I'm having, all the time off that I'm having, and also write specifically, okay, when am I going to put in those tasks? So, those content pieces that I'm wanting to do, the non-negotiable, posting on stories and the client calls. I have that really clear time of when I'm doing everything, and it's just really organized, and it makes it really easy to follow a really clear schedule because I know what's actually needing to get done. I put them in the right order of priority, and I know, what I actually need to follow through with the day, essentially. So it makes it really, really clear to just have a really clear schedule, know exactly, again, what the priorities are, what actually needs to get done during that time of that day, and what I need to really be focusing on to actually get the most results for my time. So that is my process of how I plan my days as a service provider. I think just getting organized is one of the biggest things for actually saving time in your business and actually just working less, but still getting the same output and the same results from the time that you are putting in. So if you found this video helpful, and if you want to see more videos walking through, how I actually plan things, kind of productivity kind of style, definitely let me know in the comments if you have a specific suggestion, and make sure you hit the like button to let me know that you like this type of video. Make sure you subscribe as well so you do not miss the daily videos which I'm posting. And on that note, I will see you in the next one tomorrow.